Hey there, it's Andrea Wenburg, and I'm here to help you develop your voice of influence. So, a voice of influence is someone who knows who they are, they have a very clear mission, and they can get other people on board with that mission. But here's the thing, when you want to have influence with other people, you also have to be able to have kind of difficult conversations sometimes or deal with things that are difficult. It's you have to be able to put yourself out there and risk the thought that somebody might reject you. There's all kinds of things that are negative emotions that you might experience when you're trying to develop your voice of influence, when you're trying to have influence on other people. Now, I don't know if you know this, but most people kind of have this idea that you can somehow increase your physical pain tolerance. So my husband is a physical therapist, and he tells me that sometimes the body feels pain because you need to stop doing what you're doing. Sometimes the body feels pain, but you need to push through the pain. And in those situations, when maybe your body is healing from injury and it needs to keep moving, it needs to keep he just talks about it, you just got to keep moving, you got to keep moving it. And he gives exercises and he lets you know that if you're experiencing this kind of pain, it's okay. And so just keep doing it. And eventually your body starts to realize, okay, that felt bad, but I think I'm okay. So I'm just going to keep going. Well, guess what? We can do the same thing with Well, guess what? We can do the same thing with emotional pain. We can increase our emotional pain tolerance. So my question for you is, what kind of emotion do you run away from? What emotion do you just refuse to feel? I do not want to feel like this. I do not want to feel like whatever it might be. So the problem with pushing away or denying or suppressing emotions that we don't like is that it's sort of like a festering wound. The feeling that we have, that emotion that we have that we're trying to run away from, or trying to keep away, or trying to box up, push away, it doesn't just go away. In fact, it gets worse. We might be covering it up. We might be distracting ourselves with other things, but it's getting worse and it's becoming an infection that then starts to infiltrate the rest of our being. In fact, I think what we end up doing is we tend to run from this pain. This is where the really big problem is. We tend to run from this pain, emotional pain that we don't like, and then we use other emotions to cover up that pain. So, grief. Grief is really difficult to feel. What do we cover grief up with? I think we cover grief up with anger. We cover terror, like being so afraid. We cover that up with rage, because it's the anger, it's the rage that actually makes us feel like we're more powerful, and it makes us feel like we're on top of it instead of feeling so vulnerable and exposed. We cover up our fear of chaos with a demand for control. We cover up doubt with something like self-righteous indignation. Like, I don't know why this is happening, but it shouldn't happen like this. And I'm going to, and I don't know. I could go on and on about this one. So the problem is that personal pain then that we experience, because we've covered it up, it's like we repackage it and then we redistribute it to everybody around us. So the community that we live in, the team that we manage, the people that we love. So facing our difficult feelings, facing them instead of trying to cover them up or trying to go to some other more powerful emotion that would make us feel less vulnerable. Actually facing it like reality in the face, facing the truth of it, is a very courageous thing to do. And I don't want you to forget that. It's so courageous to face the difficult things that you have going on inside of you. And as you take small steps and you face that fear in some way, you allow yourself to grieve when you're feeling grief. You cry, or you allow yourself to feel the fear instead of covering it up with rage right away. As you start to confront that and you ask yourself some questions and you allow the emotion to come, and then oftentimes it goes again. So it kind of comes in waves, especially grief comes in waves, and you feel it for a while and it's really intense, and maybe you cry, and then it goes away and you sort of breathe and you just keep going until it comes again. This is facing it head on and allowing yourself to feel the things that you feel, and then being able to take a breath and think about what you want next. Think about what you want to do because of it, or what your next step is in your life, whatever it might be. I need to go now make supper, but I needed that moment to feel the grief. And now I'm going to go make supper, and I'm not going to be angry now while I'm making supper because I feel all this grief inside. I'm not going to bite back on my kids or my spouse, or I'm not going to yell at the news on the TV because I'm feeling so much grief inside. Instead, I'm going to feel the grief, allow it to come and go and release it, and then I can go on with my life, and it doesn't have to impact everything else like I thought it did. And when you've done that a couple times, when you start to do that, and you can continue to allow yourself to do that, when you decide to let yourself do that, it's like building that pain tolerance. It's saying, I'm not going to be destroyed. I'm not going to be destroyed by this. I'm going to feel it. It sucks to feel it. It's scary to feel it. But I'm not going to be destroyed by it, because ultimately, love is what needs to motivate us. If you want to have influence, if you want to impact other people with your message, with your expertise, love is so much of what is going to build that bridge to the other person and motivate you to be able to give the best of who you are, instead of holding back or allowing some other motivation to drive you. So you can build your emotional pain tolerance. Your voice matters. Now go make it matter more.